Good afternoon and welcome to Through the Static. It's August 29th, 2018, and you can hear me, correct? Am I on the wrong speaker? No? Okay, perfect. So welcome. Thank you for listening. I'm so excited to be here. Last week we were off, and I got to tell you, I missed being here. I missed the show. So Coach Elix is here.
Hello, everyone.
And Mr. Mock, that does the jukebox prior to my show from 3 to 5. I listened actually this today. Fantastic playing of music and just the information, especially with you started with I Dream of Jeannie and the remembrance for Bill Daly. Did I screw that name up? No, okay. Major Healy, that's how I know him. So, but listen, thank you so much for listening today. I have the best information. I have the best interview today. I'm going to be interviewing James Van Praagh. So if you don't know who he is, I think if anybody remotely knows the spirit world, they're going to know who James Van Praagh is. James Van Praagh has been around for 30 years. I mean, I have listened to him. I've watched him on TV. He's been on he's been on every single show. He's been on
Oprah.
The View, Oprah. I mean, he's been on every show there is. He's been on, and he has his own radio show on Hay House Weekly. He has, oh my God, he's the director producer of Ghost Whisperer. That was with Jennifer Love Hewitt, which was, I think it ran for 5 or 6 years, which was like really successful. He's written, I can't even tell you how many books. The latest book, and I think it's the latest one, is the one that I read to prepare for this interview so that I could, just reference things. I had read some other books too. I mean, any book that he comes out with just is a bestseller because just so much quality in the book and just so much information in the book under the Spirit umbrella, which is amazing. But I will tell you, and you'll find out when I do the interview in a couple of minutes, that from what I've seen, on TV, on interviews, and especially on Hay House, for someone to be in this business for 30 years and to really not have any sort of ego, he's just amazing. He goes all over the world and tours and does events. He was here in Rhode Island last week in Woonsocket at the stadium. For someone to be at that level but yet to be so generous. I mean, first of all, so generous with me that he's given me time for an interview, which is, pretty incredible, seeing that this is, I'm new to radio. This is I think my 7th show. So for him to give this to me is pretty incredible. But it's just there's a genuineness that comes from James, and I can completely understand that the people that are around him must be just the same way, because I don't think you could be around him not being that way just because of who he is as a person. You've seen him, right? He looks like on TV. And
Yeah, he's amazing. He's just a very genuine guy who's really, you can really tell he is for others. What you see is what you get. He's as genuine as it gets, and that is his way of being is very inspiring. Like, I want to be that. Yeah, I want to be somebody like that.
Me too. No, absolutely. I don't know if I did this, but did I just at the beginning of the show say the date was August? I think I'm in a time loop right now.
I have no
September
idea.
12th. We're live, so this is good.
It's a live show. You can call today after the interview. 508.
And I didn't even drink before this. Nothing, right? No wine. Not that I'm a big drinker anyway, but yes, you can. 508-222. Thank you, Elix. 1320. But I will say that we missed being here last week. We missed seeing Mark.
We missed seeing you, Mark.
We did. We missed seeing Mark when we come in because he does the 2 hours prior to us. And I know I've said this before, and I can't say it enough how much I appreciate Mark because he volunteers his 3rd hour for this show in doing the boards, which I have no capacity for. I wouldn't know what I was doing back there. Even though Jim did show me how to do or trained me a little bit, I walked out of there thinking, there's no way I can do this.
It would not be a pretty picture.
It would be a hot mess.
You managing those boards, I don't know. There'll be no show for sure. So thank you, Mark.
No. So, and we had a wedding Sunday. which
we
was
did. Yes.
Megan and Greg.
Congratulations. It was a beautiful wedding.
Yeah, really
Mary Ellen, Nick.
Yes.
If you're listening, we had a great time.
Auntie Susie.
Yes.
Right? Susan, who is a very, very special person to me. We've been friends since the 70s. And I love her to death. And I know she listens, and I'm going to test her after the show to see if she can tell me what I said.
Since the 70s. My goodness. What were you, in kindergarten then?
No, actually, we weren't even born yet.
Oh,
no, my mother was pregnant with her mother, and they were next to each other, and telepathically, we would just chat in the late 70s. So, but getting back to this show, and I'm very, very happy that we're back and that we can just share with you, share with everybody that's listening, the spirit world, and specifically James Van Praagh coming up after the break. So I'm very excited about that. And hopefully, again, after that, I can get some phone calls in because I know that's what this show is all about, and just doing reading. So, but anything else?
Yeah. Just a reminder, we're not going to take any calls until after the interview.
Right.
So I know the phone has been ringing already. So be patient. We're going to get to as many as we can, and but it will be after we do the interview with James.
Is that like when a guy and a girl are pregnant, and the guy says, "We're pregnant"? That's what you just said. We'll get through as many phone calls as we can. See what happens after 25 years with this.
I guess, yeah. Are we pregnant? Is that what it is? Just saying.
No, the only little ones that are around are 3 dogs, and that's plenty. That's sufficient. Those are our babies. We love those dogs. So,
for those of you who just heard dogs, that's his accent. That's how he speaks. Dogs.
Yeah, well, it's not an accent.
Okay.
No, I mean, listen, I have a lot of Rhode Island listeners, and they will agree with me that there's no accent.
Okay.
Dog, that's how we say dog. That's the correct way to say dog.
And in the morning, you drink what?
Coffee.
Yeah,
and all my Rhode Islanders know that, so we're good. I'm good with the Rhode Islanders. So, but I got to tell you, when I reached out to James Van Praagh, you can't just email him. Like, if people want to get to me, you just email me. But James has, just a whole team, a whole parade of people that run his organization. So when I sent the email out, I wasn't really sure who I was sending it to, and just crossing my fingers and praying that I was going to get a response. And I did, and then that was forwarded to his assistant, who I got to tell you has been the nicest, the sweetest. I mean, I've never met her, but just via emails, it's been very, very nice. I think it just backs up to what I just said earlier about James having certain kind of people around him, and it was very reflective in his assistant. Just in the conversation.
And in the whole experience that we've had with him. By the way, one other thing before I forget, kind of on a separate note, I want to make sure that we give a shout out to Pam and Bill, because last week we spent a week in this beautiful, beautiful cabin in Maine, and we were able to disconnect, be connected with nature. This is about 5.5 hours away from us in Boston. And if not for Pam and Bill, who were so generous to let us use their cabin, we wouldn't have that opportunity. So thank you both. Shout out to both of you for being so generous with us.
You don't get better than those two.
And we're going to post a lot of videos and pictures at some point so that you guys can experience what we experienced. There was no TV. There was nothing, no Wi-Fi. So it was us in nature, and it was just amazing.
I'm going to post the sunset, too. And anyone who's listening, if you are on Facebook, please make sure you look up me, Stephen the Medium, on Facebook, because you'll get alerts with Facebook Live, and we do that prior to the show so that you guys get sort of a preview, a little insight on what the show is going to be about, or can ask questions or so. And if you don't, maybe you want to sign up for Facebook. If not, Facebook's not the thing for you. As long as you're listening here, that's what matters. So you can call and get a reading. But after the interview with Mr. Van Praagh And it took me a little bit too to figure out the questions that I want to ask, and but I think everything's all set. I think it's going to be great, and when we come back, we're going to have the interview with James Van Praagh.
Awesome. Stop and Shop is sponsoring a free Healthy Kids Summit at Gillette Stadium on Wednesday, September 19th from 4 to 6 p.m. This will be an afternoon of play and fitness. Kids will participate in games to learn about exercise and nutrition. The Healthy Kids Summit is open to all kids ages 6 to 14. The event is limited to 400 kids and their parents or guardians.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
For over 47 years, Amigo Inc. has been offering services and programs for children and adults with autism spectrum disorders and other disabilities. Located at 33 Perry Avenue in Attleboro, Amigo has been committed to building vital relationships while expanding their community ties on the local level. Amigo provides day programs, transitional planning, and a continuum of services to support all ages. For more information, you can visit their website at amigoinc.org.
This week on AACS, watch the performance of the Roots to Rocks band Black and White as they cap off this year's Concerts in the Park series. Throughout the night, concertgoers were treated to the upbeat, timeless songs of the ages at Capron Park. You can watch this program and all of our quality programs from around the area in high definition on the AACS mobile app.
Welcome back to Through the Static with Stephen the Medium, and I am Stephen the Medium. I have a guest that I think I am the most excited to speak to, and I know all the listeners are going to be just as excited. He is an internationally renowned #1 New York Times best-selling author of numerous books. He is hailed throughout the world as a pioneer of the mediumship movement and recognized as one of the most accurate spiritual mediums working today. He has appeared on virtually every national radio and television show. He was the host of his own nationally syndicated show, Beyond, and creator and executive producer of CBS's long-running series Ghost Whisperer, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt, which I loved and didn't miss an episode. Just to name a few, and has his own online school, JVP, School of Mystical Arts. He can be also heard weekly on Hay House Radio, and that is quite the introduction, James. James Van Praagh, thank you for calling in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, I can't tell you how excited I am. And actually, before I even start, I have to tell you that I just, a couple of weeks ago, finished your Wisdom from Your Spirit Guides book.
Yes.
And,
yes.
James, that book was just not just so informational, but there were parts that I started highlighting because I wanted to remember. And before I knew it, I think half your book is highlighted because it was so terrific in some of the I mean, just some of the statements that you made that I think tie into so much what's going on in life and people coming for readings, and it was absolutely terrific. So
Thank you.
I want to thank you, and I know that you've written so many books, and I have certainly read others too. So it's been terrific. So what I'd like to start with, James, is, where did this all start from? I'm not really sure if you knew you were connected to spirit as a young boy. It came in adulthood. Tell me a little bit about how James came to know about this gift.
Well, I used to see spirit as a little boy. It was a very natural, normal way of life. And as children, we look at the world around us and we measure the world around us based on our experiences. And my experience was that I could see spirits around people and see colors and around people known as the auric field. And I see very clearly, and I remember one of the instances I was saying my prayers, my night prayers before bed, my mother at 7 years of age, and I said, Mommy, look at those people at the end of the bed with the lights around them. And she said, oh, those are God's angels. Do you see them too? I used to see them when I was a little girl. And I had several experiences. I remember as a second grade, and a spirit boy came through the window of this classroom, came over to me and showed me this design. And I'm like, what is this? And he said, you'll know this later in your life, but I'm going to give it to you now. And I forgot that experience until I wrote the book, Growing Up in Heaven. At the very end of Growing Up in Heaven, I talk about the soul and what I believe the soul looks like. And as I was describing it, that image, that memory came back to me very, very clearly when I was 7 years old, over 40 years ago. And it's a sacred geometry. What the soul, looks at the description of the soul. So I had many experiences as a child. I know things before it happened on a psychic level as well. And then, I ran in my family. My grandparents on both sides were very much in tune, if you will, more psychic, I would say. But my mother was very mediumistic in her own right. Even though she didn't practice it, she was very Catholic. She was very, very Catholic. And, really wasn't discussed. And I really pursued later on in my life, I wanted to be a sitcom writer. So I went to school.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm very funny. So I thought I would use that. And I've always had a theatrical background. I was going to be an actor for a while. I have a very nice voice. And then I went to get a broadcasting degree at San Francisco State. And I met some producers there who worked on Hill Street Blues. And I said, listen, I'm graduating in June. Is there a way I can get a job on your show? And they said, sure, come down in July 7th at Studio City, and we will use you. I said, great. Not knowing anything better, I packed up everything. Back to New York, my original home, got everything I had, my $3,000, used car. My mother had a stroke, and she couldn't speak, and she was in the hospital. And I had to make the choice. Do I leave and go out to California to pursue my dream, or do I stay here with my mother? That was a hard one. But I knew that she would have wanted me to do that. So I left and pursued my dream, and I got to Los Angeles. And I got to there, and they asked about the producers, and the studio said, it doesn't work that way. This production company doesn't hire people that way, so we can't give you his phone number.
Wow.
So I was literally in Los Angeles, not knowing a soul, not knowing what I was going to do. And through a series of temporary jobs, and this is a long story, but I'll make it very brief, a temporary job for several years, I ended up at William Morris Agency, talent agency. Well, maybe I got to be there because I'll meet a agent and get a script going or something. And it was there that a lady named Carol Shoemaker said to me, do you want to go see a medium? And I said, what is a medium? And she said, someone who talks to dead people. And I said, I don't believe in that sort of thing.
Really?
So, yeah, because I didn't really believe in it. I didn't really have any experience. After 14 years of age, I didn't really have any experience. I was just a normal, everyday kid going to school, not seeing anything then. It kind of shut off, I guess you would say. And then I went to this medium from England. He was in Manhattan Beach, California. I walked in his apartment, and he looked at me and he said, you're a medium. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about, but I heard that my cynical New Yorker came out that California is a land of fruit and nuts, and I thought, oh, this is great. I got perfect. So he went on to give a read to me and her, and it was amazing, the details that came through. He gave names of people, evidential information about people that no one would know about. He even mentioned I had an uncle in the spirit world with the same name, which I didn't know until I found out later. And he said, the spirit world are going to use you in 2 years' time to help change the consciousness of the planet. And I said, boy, I'd pay dirt here. This guy is crazy. So, but it did get me thinking about meditation. I said, how is he doing this? I was very curious. So I went to a bookstore called the Bodici Bookstore in Los Angeles, a very big New Age bookstore. And I found these books. Every weekend I'd go, and I was absorbing like a sponge everything I find in psychic phenomenon, life after death, meditation, past life regression, and I just felt I knew this. This is part of me. Not that I wanted to do anything with it, but I just wanted to find out more information about it. Because how did this guy know these things? So through a series of those books, I began to start a regular meditation practice. And Stephen, I say I don't know how to meditate, right? So I knew it involved the breath. So I breathe in love and breathe out fear, or
Wow.
breathe in a rose, and I found out then, and then I was working several different jobs, again, temporary jobs, but I found out after 2 or 3 months of doing meditation, maybe 15 minutes a day, I started seeing colors around people and the auric field around people. And then one day I was working at Paramount Studios, and a girl came next to me in a cubicle after lunch, and there was a dead woman behind her grandmother, who looked right at me. I could see her very, very clearly, objectively see her very clearly. And she looked at me and she said telepathically, I'm her grandmother. Tell her about my house in Idaho, the White House, the yellow shutters, and the needlepoint we did together, and tell her I'm fine. And I asked her this, and the girl said, oh, that's my grandmother. Yes, I spent every summer with her in that house in Idaho, exactly how you describe it. And the last thing she told me was needlepoint when we had a footstool cover together. And I freaked out, as you can imagine, and I ran out of the Paramount gates, which I'm sure people have done many times. I ran out. I went back to my apartment, and I was totally freaked out because I didn't know how I was going to live a normal life now because I see dead people. I was like, wow. This is crazy. And I can't talk to anybody about it. They'll think I'm nuts. And this is back in the early 90s, so it was, or late 80s, actually. So it was really a time when that wasn't really known, really out there. So the only one I could call it was that medium, I thought. So I called up the medium, Brian Hurst, and I told him what happened. And he said, James, don't you remember the prediction of the spirit world that you can help change the consciousness? I said, yes. He said, James, that was 2 years ago today.
Wow.
And then my life changed. And it shows you the intelligence of the spirit world is so beyond the human comprehension. And really, I went on faith because of that experience. And Brian Hurst took me under his wing and to help me develop and set in development circles. And then I started doing messages for people like once a day. And I quit Paramount. I don't know how I was going to be paid. I don't know how I was going to live. But Spirit works with me, and they've always taken care of me. I've always had enough to live on. And, then I wrote the book, and it was very successful. And then the rest is history, as they say.
Wow. I mean, it reminds...
That's my story, Stephen.
And I loved it. I think I could spend days with you just listening. But it's, it's interesting hearing... I mean, this is it's a miracle. It really is an amazing story that you don't hear, from any Tom, Dick, or Harry. But first of all, I was going to ask you if anyone in your family was also connected. And I know you just talked about your mom, and you come from it sounds like a long line of people that are connected. It almost sounds like they, all the generations just were building for you. To really be...
I believe that's true.
Yeah, James.
It is lineage. It runs in a line. Sure, it's a lineage that runs genetically. My grandmother used to read tea leaves to me.
Wow.
And when I was a little boy. My grandfather, on my mother's side, used to say to his wife, and this is a very Irish Catholic man, and this is back in the 30s, and he would say to her, you better put another plate at the dinner table because we're going to have a guest. And she did, and sure enough, at 5:15, the next door neighbor showed up.
Wow.
So, but it was kind of a sense of knowingness that they lived that way. That was just the way it was. It wasn't anything. And then my mother, when I was a little boy, used to see her mother and father at the end of her bed all the time. I used to hear her talk to them.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, you were very fortunate because I also come from, my mom's all Irish and Irish Catholic. You may get families that are just going to shut it down, but thankfully that your family also experienced it, so you came into a very receptive place. But I love the fact that it just, as you were telling me the story, I was just thinking, God, it feels like it's an accumulation to hand the most important feature and gift to this young man, James, and he's going to take off with it. And one time when I was just trying to figure out what was going on with me with the mediumship, I listened to you all the time on Hay House, and I remember someone called in and said to you, I think I'm having spirit come to me. I think I'm feeling things, and I don't know if I'm a medium. And I remember you said to her, if you said a lot of great things, but one of the statements you said, James, was if this was meant to be, Spirit will guide you that way. And I have to tell you, I thank you for that, because that has something that has just really stuck with me, and I love just keeping it with me and just seeing how even my path is going. Clearly, not like yours. I mean, this is pretty incredible.
Everybody has their journey there, Stephen.
Well,
everybody's unique in their journey, without a doubt.
Listen, when I was driving here, I just thought, I'm going to be speaking to James Van Praagh, and I almost jumped out the car. So James, I was so excited.
That didn't happen.
But one of the things, too, I wanted to say, in hearing that wonderful story, is that you really have, and I honestly, genuinely mean this, you have really paved the way, I think, for so many other mediums and psychics. And as you know, as you just mentioned, years ago, it was much more difficult to come out and speak to someone that thought you were crazy. And you really have people look up to you, and you've paved this way so that people can feel confident and that they can want to share their gift just like you do with everybody else, and really honor spirit. So that, for me, speaking to you, I could hang up. I'm not going to, but I could hang up and be just that. Really, just be the happiest. Just being able to speak to you, and just giving that as a validation, and coming from a medium. I really want to thank you, because I mean, we've never met in person, but when I hear you and see interviews, you again, your genuineness and your caring and the love that comes through is just, when people hang up, that they're hanging up in such a better place than when they called, which is just amazing. But I also wanted to ask you about...
Thank you. That's what it's all about, too, isn't it?
It is. But I wanted to ask you about Brian, too, because, I've been with my husband, Elix, for 25 years, and I wanted to know how Brian handles this. I mean, is he connected?
Well, a very funny story. Brian and I have been together 23 years.
Wow.
Married officially in California, that very weird thing, 10 years ago on Sunday. So,
congratulations.
23 years. Thank you. So we met at a club in Palm Springs, and I didn't know anybody. And I looked at him, and I looked at his eyes across the dance floor, and that was it. And that was the beginning of it. And I said, he goes, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "I'm a grief counselor," because I didn't know.
Good answer.
And it worked out really well, because and he lived in very far from there. I was in Los Angeles. He lived in Orange County, and I thought, geographically undesirable, as we did in those days. And I never meet anybody. My whole history is I'm really one of those people that just don't meet people. I'm very shy. Believe it or not, Stephen, I'm very shy.
Wow.
And it's just maybe because I'm sensitive. I don't know. But anyway, so I told someone on the phone after that experience, and I said, "There's something I have to tell you. I'm really a medium." And he said, "Oh, that's kind of cool." He goes, "I just finished reading Edgar Cayce." And he
wow.
Yeah, so that was spiritly led, of course, obviously divine. And he had readings by psychics before. Iris Bellhays was a very famous psychic in Pasadena, California. And years before him and I met, Brian said he had a reading with her. And she said to him, "You're a maverick soul, where some souls go to certain groups or belong to a soul group. You don't belong to one soul group. You go to many different soul groups and create and help things. So you're called a maverick soul," which I'd never heard that. And he is. He's exactly that. I call him the monk man, because he's very much the rock in the relationship. And as you know, every good relationship is a rock and a kite.
Right.
And you're probably the kite, and I'm the kite. But you got to be. We explore. We're out there doing things, but we need someone to ground us. And Brian's always been there for me and created a great life. He's a triple Virgo. There you go. If you know astrology.
I do. Well, a little bit, but I do.
Very analytical, very critical, and he's very. He's very. He was very. I had a whole thing with Barbara Walters that happened that I did a reading for it. It wasn't even. She asked me, and I said okay. And I did one before for her in her office in New York. It went extremely well, and her assistant's mother came through as well, and it was a great thing. And then a show, she asked me again. I said, well, okay, when I'm next back in New York. But she took me in backstage and said, "Do it now." I'm like, okay. I said, "Please take your microphone off." And I picked up she had bad blood or something. It was bad blood. I said, I was really worried that you have a very bad back. There's L5, L6, F4, and she goes, "Everybody has a bad back." I'm like, oh, Jesus, what do I get into here? I'm trying to help the lady, and then she was popping. And meanwhile, her father came through and told her he had one bad eye, one false eye. And I didn't know. Who knows? I didn't know that.
Right.
Yes, that's true. Everyone knows. I said, no. Anyway, I said, you got to be careful of bad blood because it's going to affect your heart. And she went on to The View the next 2 weeks ago later, or a week later, and I was at a friend's funeral, a friend's mother's funeral, and they said, she just dissed you on The View. I said, excuse me. So I watched it, and she said that after that reading with me, she called up her doctor, and he called about a surgery, and he did a test, and he goes, your blood is fine, and your heart's fine. Well, then a year later, or a year and a half later, she had that big heart thing going on.
Wow.
So it was accurate. And she never came back and said, I'm sorry, I regret that. And unfortunately, that really tainted, the work with me, and it hurt me a lot. And people, my authenticity. I mean, people who knew me, but I know Brian was very upset about that because he knows who I am. I've always, as you said earlier, a pioneer, I guess you would say, pathway. I was the one that really took the bullet for all of the rest of the mediums because when I first came out with this, all the skeptics, the Skeptical Society, the magician James Randi, all these people were going after me and saying, cold readings. I didn't know what the heck that was. And, it was before John Edwards, before Sylvia Brown, before, there was only one of the medium, George Anderson on Long Island, who was really, he did one television appearance, but I was really the first one on Larry King and out there. I turned away the show Crossing Over, and that was, told the producer about John Edwards, and that's how he got that show.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Bonnie Hammer called me up after talking to Heaven. My first book came out, and she said, "Listen, we'd like to do a show in Science Fiction Network, and it's with a medium, and we'd love to have you." And she said, "It's in New York." And I thought to myself, I saw Clayback, and I thought, well, the book was number one. I've been through the limelight. That's fine. Let me give it to somebody in New York. And I would work with John Edward once. He was working at a hospital during the day and doing readings at night. And I thought maybe he'd like to do this. So I told her about him. I gave her his phone number. She called him, and that's how Crossing Over happened.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So that is the history of that.
And that certainly was spirit driven because apparently you weren't supposed to do that.
Exactly right. And you know what? There's a lot to go around for everyone, and that's really what it's about. And mediums have to realize that you got to respect each other. And there's something really interesting too, Steve, which I don't know if you found out this yet, because I'm not sure. How long you've been doing your work, but one thing is that people should understand: just because you're a medium doesn't necessarily mean you're spiritual. And people mix that up. They think this person must be very spiritual. I've met many a medium who's very talented, but they're not spiritual. So that's something to look at.
To be honest, James, I never really thought about that.
I know. Well, here you go. This is my years of experience. And then what will happen is you'll find out the better you perfect your abilities, that you'll find there will be other mediums who are jealous and envious of you. And you're like, what? Where did this come from? You do spirit's work. And it's unfortunate, but when you find, people who are genuine, they do the work for a genuine reason, you stay with them. So I have some really good friends from England I'm with, and some Maureen Hancock who lives in your area up there. She's fantastic. Yeah. And some certain people I will be with because that's what it's about. It's about the bigger picture. It's not about ego or anything to do with that. And there's no time for that,
Well, if there's anybody, like you said, mediums that are jealous, if there's anybody that's going to be having tomatoes thrown at them, it's got to be you, James, because there's going to be a lot of envious mediums.
And there was, let me tell you.
But I want to ask you, too, after all these years of doing what you're doing and just providing, so much, and that's one of the things I wrote down, that if there's anything I make sure I get through to James is just thanking him for being who he is and what he's done for people coming up. But do you still learn new things from spirit? Like, does spirit still surprise you when you're doing these readings?
Oh, every day, every reading. So and you have to go into it with that sense that you are learning every moment you do a reading. Every time I give a message, it's a miracle, and I'll learn a different aspect about myself. I'll learn a different aspect about the person I'm working with. That person I'm working with will teach me things. So it's always like that, and you always have to have. As a medium, you always should have the art of discovery. Being open to discovering new aspects of yourself, new aspects of healing, new aspects of that person you're reading, working for the other world. You've got to honor the other world. We are ambassadors to the other world, and we've got to live up to that reputation. It's to me, Stephen, and I can only speak for me. I respect the work so much that I have to really, I put their work on a pedestal because. I don't know, bringing through love and that love never dies is one of the greatest gifts that there is for people, I think. So you got to respect it on that level and appreciate it and demonstrate that.
Yeah, and I can't tell you from listening to your interviews and Hay House and anything when you were on Ricky Lake I watched and just the really the knowledge that I've taken away from you and even seeing the way you perform and the way you deal with people, just the ethics and that is at such a high level, James, and it's something that I never, being really new to this, I never really thought of all the aspects of it. And I know when I was coming, when I was just realizing something was going on with me, I had a group of us went to a medium, and at the end, I asked this medium, I said, things are happening, and I'm not really sure what's going on. And the medium just really wrote me off and said, you know what, astrologically the world's changing and here and there people are feeling things, and she just pretty much just walked away, and it left me just in such a
hanging there.
Yeah, and, James, and sad. Just I was getting so excited, like is something going on with me, and just very, very sad. And thankfully I didn't hang on to that, and just as you said, just surrounded myself with just a support. Maybe not other mediums because I really didn't know any other mediums, but just supportive like Elix, who is the best, and friends, just to really just to really help me. But I didn't connect that there's this is work. This is a business that you're holding someone's life in your hands, and
exactly
I don't think I could have been taught by anybody else, and that's why my first interview I said I'm going to do whatever I can to reach out to James, and I'm going to ask Spirit to help me to be able to. Exactly, and so what's the next? I mean, I don't even know if there is a next chapter for you because you've done everything, but is there anything that you want to still do that you're thinking about doing?
Yeah, well, I will be up in. I'm going to be traveling, doing shows, demonstrations in New England and all the country, and I'm teaching a lot. I'm doing the online JVP School of Mystical Arts, which has been a real. It's really what I'm leaving behind, and I have 30 courses of healing and intuition and psychic work and living your best life and mediumship levels 1, 2, 3, and it's a whole online school which I've dedicated myself to. And each course comes with, some of the courses are 30 videos, 60 videos. I give my heart to that. So I've done that. I'm still ongoing with that, the JVP School of Mystical Arts. And then I'm really working right now on a musical. About
really?
The spirit world. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a musical based in the spirit world. It's a moral dilemma story. And it takes place here on the earth and in the spirit side. And it's another way to bring the messages, the knowledge, in a whole different way. So I've done it through books and computer and television, and then this is really theater. And, so whether it's a big hit or it's a little one, it doesn't matter. It's going to find its way. And so I'm doing that. And I've also been working with what's I call healing gardens. And I'm a real gardener. I appreciate nature so much. I use nature in my work a lot, in my meditations. That what I do is I will read people's auric fields. If they want a garden, like a meditation garden, I read their auric field and I see what colors are lacking at that moment or predominantly lacking. And I design a garden according to the colors that will empower them.
Wow, James, that's incredible. And I know that, I don't know if it was one of the books I read of yours or heard you, but I do know that at some point I read something that if you weren't a medium, if you didn't have this career, your sort of backup would be something to do with agriculture or flowers or just being out in nature.
Landscape design, that would be it for sure. I love working with nature. I love working with, even just walking in nature, but I connect with the flowers, and I connect really, Steve, with, and I have to say, maybe it's because of the years I've worked with people, human beings and souls from the spirit side, of that prana, the energy of life, the essence of life, that is that oneness in all things. And when I go into the garden, I walk down in the park, I just connect with the blades, the grass, the trees, the leaves, and I walk in I guess you could say, I walk with a state of mind, being mindful, being aware, a mindfulness, that I'm grateful. I have a sense of gratitude, and I connect with that oneness, that essence with all these living things, and I feel a part of it all. I feel that oneness of everything. So that's what I'm every day I try to get more and more. The other thing I try to do, which has been really interesting, Steve, which you can do, and everyone can do this, is I try to find, with every person I meet every day, I want to find God within them. I want to find that light. And sometimes that light might be hidden. Maybe someone's in fear. Maybe someone's troubled. But then I find that I like to help them to find that light. I might say something that opens them up a certain way, or look at something with a different perspective. So I try to find the God in every person, and it's been great. And I make it like kind of a game. It's great. It's a great way. And I change the energy. So, and everybody can do this. Even if, let's say, you're on an elevator and someone's down looking at their device, which everybody does, I stop them and I say, "Hi, how are you today?" And I make that human contact because that's what we're lacking so much of these days. And I try to enforce that empowerment, with each person, that we're all connected. The biggest illusion is that we're separate when really we're not. We're connected. And the second is death. There is no death. There's only life. So those are the two biggest illusions we have, this three-dimensional world. And I try my best, in my everyday life to live that. And I also become aware as I get older now. I just turned 60. And I realize that every day, of course, is made up of moments. And that every moment should count. So when you pass out of the physical life and you look back, you'll be proud of every moment that you made. You made the best of each moment. So that's really what I'm looking at. Teach them.
What amazing advice. And I would love to, the people, when you were just describing that and what you do for people and finding God in each person, I would love to just see and follow each person that you do have exposure to or contact. And just, can you imagine just possibly just one thing you say to them, how that can completely change their lives, going in a different direction, which is amazing.
And it's really one of the things I talk about, which Wayne Dyer talks about, and Reverend Terry Cole Whitaker, and really Ernest Holmes of Science of Mind. And I use this phrase a lot. It's a real liberating one. You might have heard of it. It's what other people think of you is none of your business.
Right.
And it's really true, because people get so caught up in what other people think of them, whether it's family or friends or society, that they get imprisoned and trapped with that mindset instead of being themselves. And when someone can just express their uniqueness, their quality of who they are truly, they live freely and in love of themselves, and they're not living in fear. Because I always say life is a series of choices, and all choices are based upon either love or fear. And that's really what it is. And our souls, our vibratory rate is of love. It's the highest frequency there is love. So in fear is FEAR, false ego appearing real. So that's the human aspect of ourselves. So we want to go from that human aspect to the higher aspect, which is of love, and realize that the human, we are souls having this human experience to learn. This is one of our schools that we come back to learn from. Earth is one school of many. It's the human condition that we're trying to learn. And the easiest way to get through it is to not judge, because judge is fear-based. Judgment is all fear-based. If I judge another, then I feel better. I feel more in control, whatever that is, because there is no control. And it's really, it's getting to that space of just appreciating everybody, loving them for who they are, not trying to change them to something you want them to be, not following this one way of being, like, religions or isms. I don't believe in isms. Everyone has a right to be themselves, who they are, and live their life, and honor them with that. As long as they don't hurt people and destroy people, then you have to honor them for who they are. That's how I try to live.
And that's, listening to that, it's amazing to think how you've evolved, because, starting in this business, you've got to have you can't have thin skin.
No, you cannot.
Really,
on many levels.
Yeah, and even when you're starting out, you can go into a depression if you try to give a reading and the person just says, nope, I don't understand that. Nope, that's not me. Nope, and you just leave thinking, oh my God, maybe I'm not even connected. It's tough. It really is tough, and it's. I think all the listeners that are going to listen to this recording are really going to really appreciate that in people, because I know that there's a lot of mediums and psychics that really haven't branched out yet, that really can strive to be where you are and to evolve to get to that place that, you've got to be confident with yourself and comfortable and move forward. And clearly that's how you are where you are right now. So,
Stephen, and also it's something that's really, really important, because in my school I teach my students this all the time, every day. And because they really want to get the reading, they want to get the evidence. I said, listen, you have to enjoy the journey one step at a time, because if you're so caught up in being that great medium, that successful, you're going to lose out on all the miracles that happen along the way, each step of the way. It's a process. It's an unfoldment. It's like a flower that's unfolding one petal at a time. It's your own soul's unfoldment, too. As you do mediumship, Your own soul is unfolding and becoming aware and mindful. So you can't rush through that process. You've got to enjoy each step of the way. And there'll be great days, and you'll be connected really well. There'll be some great readings. And then there'll be some clunkers. And who knows why that happens. But I'm sure the spirit world, the intelligence of the spirit world shows that to people because who knows why. Maybe they weren't getting to the ego. Maybe they weren't connected correctly. Maybe, for whatever the reason it might be. Maybe the recipient wasn't open. You know, you have to just be open to all different experiences and know that spirit's always there, but the we show up. You know, they always show up if the we show up. And that's important. But the developing mediums right now, my biggest thing I say to them, because of technology, how it's changed things so much drastically and really in the air around us, in the environment around us, the atmosphere, I say to people who are just developing, sit in the quiet, sit in the stillness. Even if it's going into your closet and closing the door and you won't be interrupted, sit for 15 minutes in the quiet and just let your soul come out. And it's in that quiet stillness that you will really begin to feel your soul become animated, begin to feel the guides come close to you, feel the loved ones come close to you. And you give the spirit world time to work with the energetic body, work with that ethereal body to be more sensitive. So if we could just sit in the stillness 15 minutes a day, I think the developing mediums, with their quality of their work, would improve drastically.
You know, that's another great piece of advice. And I remember when this was all starting with me and I started listening to you and signed on a subscription to Hay House. And I remember hearing you say exactly what you just said. And do you know, James, maybe about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I actually bought a diary. And when I was, certainly not every reading, but I started to sit back and just I really took your advice and just started writing highlights and really enjoying so that I could, at some point, which I've done, just gone back to it and just look at it in an amazement. Like, I can't believe I did that. Like, I can't believe Spirit came through. I can't believe her mother came through, her father came through, which is, I think, is really key. And I also do the same. And I take this very seriously, and I appreciate it. And which is. It's just really, to me, it's a miracle, and I think that,
it always should be a miracle. Every time you do it should be a miracle, and when it isn't a miracle, then you stop doing it. That's what I say.
No, it's more great advice, and that makes complete sense. So, and I know you have another appointment, but I will tell you, I want to tell all the listeners that September 7th here, because I'm calling from Massachusetts, you're at the Stadium Theater in Woonsocket.
And how is that theater? I've never been.
You know what? I have never been, but you can bet, James, I'm going to be there. I did the meet and greet. I can't wait to meet you and just to see you in person. So because this has been the highlight of my life, just getting to speak to you. So if there are tickets, I don't even know if there's tickets with you, probably not. But if there are, just go to the website, the Stadium Theater in Woonsocket. People that have been there for different events, there's nothing but positive that they say. James, which is a great thing. And I want to thank you also on a separate note, because walking into the studio today, we connect, or some of us connect with just one particular person more so, and that's my Grandma Rose. And when we were just talking earlier, and you were talking about starting your process, and you said about meditating, and whether you breathe in love, and you said breathe in a rose, and I just thought, that's Grandma Rose just using James to let me know that she's here, and I know she was all part of this, and I can't thank you. And I will tell you the last thing, and I promise I will stop, is that I give you an offer, James, at any point. I know how busy you are, for me to read you. I don't know how many times as a medium you get read, but we all need that. And please take that opportunity.
Well, thank you.
I would love to do that.
I actually get read a lot by my students because part of their job is to have to give me a reading. So I've had hundreds of readings. But thank you for the offer. I appreciate it.
I didn't see that coming, James, but the offer's still there.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Steve. That's very kind of you, and I'll remember it. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for giving me the time. Again, I know your schedule, and next Friday, you couldn't keep me away from that place to meet you for anything. So I'm so excited to get to meet you, and you have a great weekend.
Thank you, too. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, James. Bye-bye.
The Attleboro Health Department offers back-to-school vaccinations for students, in addition to lead testing by finger stick. If parents have questions or want to schedule an appointment for vaccinations, they can call the public health nurse, Jackie O'Brien, at 508-223-2222, extension 3244. Please remember to bring your child's current immunization record to the appointment.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Staying at home, surrounded by family and friends, resting comfortably, with your illness under control, and support for your family caregivers. That's what most Americans want at life's end. Hospice can make it happen. With the help of hospice, patients and families alike can focus on what's most important, enjoying life together and living as fully as possible. Feel free to contact Community VNA Hospice at 508-222-0118. You can also visit communityvna.com for more information.
Welcome back to Through the Static. And what did you think of that?
I thought that was amazing.
And what did you, listening, think of that? It was pretty incredible. It was surreal. I was very proud of myself that I was able to listen as he was speaking. You know, like when you get very excited or you get very nervous, whether it's an interview, whether it's whatever you're doing, and you sometimes pull out of your present, you're not in the present and you're not listening. You
go into your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was very proud that I stayed present and I listened to what he said, and I just really ingested it. And and of course we got to meet him at the stadium, and he is exactly what I said prior to the beginning or prior to the interview, was that he is just He's different. He really is different. He's not like any other person I think I've ever spoken to, just because, I mean, when he was talking about just not being judgmental and just, just saying hi to a stranger and realizing what, if someone's having a bad day, and just a hi, can just shift everything, and that's what it's all about, right? I mean, I didn't have to take that as advice, because I don't judge anybody. I'm just that way, I'm
moving along.
Well, I try not to. I'm trying not to, because
that's the point. Yeah. We're learning, and we practice being the better version of ourselves every day.
That's Coach Elix.
You have me, I have you, and that's what we do. We hold each other accountable for that.
Right, and we both have Mark, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Mark is a different story. He's out of control.
Well, listen, I hope you enjoyed that interview. I was just so excited to be able to do it and to have you listen to it, and I hope you gathered information and just realize what a great guy he is and how he represents the spirit world. But because I completely went longer than what I thought I was going to, there's not any time for phone calls, because I think we have like a 1 minute left. Next week, I promise you, is going to be all calls. I'm going to shorten the usual conversation we have at the beginning, and I'm going to just start taking calls. So next week, 508-222-1320.
And I promise everyone I will hold them to account.
Well, I have two people. Mark said that.
Yeah.
You say that.
Yeah.
So
well, no, we're going to do it.
So Stephen the Medium is my website, so you can check that out, WARA Radio, so you can listen. We'll be back on Facebook Live. Say your website, Coach Elix?
You forgot my website.
I was giving you a little airtime.
Performance Coaching by Elix.
Yes. And you were on Dave Kane. We didn't even talk about that.
Yes.
We'll have to we'll see. I'm already starting next week.
You can follow me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and you can get the link to the interview and learn.